And we're officially live, broadcasting only on onedealaway.com/live. This is Money Matters. My name is Nev, and happy Monday to you. It is November 9th of 2020. My gosh, after this month, we have 1 month left before 2021 comes in. I know many people are excited. We're all hoping that, the cerveza overflow stays in this year and we will move on. Probably won't happen, but it's nice to dream about, isn't it? So, one of the things I want to talk about is not cerveza or Corona or any other, anything. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to be taking a look a little bit deeper into the world of crypto. If you have been paying attention to anything on the news whatsoever, well, you are sick and tired because it's all about elections. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but media has a thing of overloading us on one end of the things, right? Like, just follow this, follow this, follow this, and there's all this other stuff happening that nobody's really talking about, right? We see it all the time. When they were focusing so much on Corona, everything was focused on there. They're still happening, but now it's like a 2 second thing of like, and the numbers for today are 215,1784. And you're like, okay, great, thanks. So, and there were many things that were happening in March, from patents filing to coins pumping to money dumping to all kinds of different things. And so, I think it's important to kind of go a bit more alternative. So I like alternative medicine. I like alternative investing. I like alternative news information because I will tell y'all, alternative has saved my life in so many ways. And I am alternative for the rest of my life. And I am really alternative, I guess, a lot. So today we're going to be discussing a bit more about the crypto, what's going on. There's another analyst that also came through that is claiming that more likely than not, Bitcoin will hit between $100 and $280,000 by December 21. So in roughly 12 to 13 months, you can expect the $15,000 to be basically as cheap as it gets. Now, after that, who knows? Does it go up? Does it go down? We don't really know. We'll talk about this stuff. We'll take a look at the charts. It's a very interesting lot of analysis to discuss and talk about. We're also going to be discussing of potentially getting your Bitcoin in your IRA, in your retirement fund. And why is that? Well, for one, many people do have quite a bit of wealth in their retirement fund. And so now you're like, inside of the traditional IRA account, where it's 401k, 403b, whatever C that you have, right? You are limited to only so much. You're limited to pretty much mutual funds that are a combination of like stocks and bonds. Some of those dabble in this or that. So you get a lot of derivatives and stuff. And it's a very interesting sort of concept. So we're going to be discussing what other options you have from retirement perspective and ways that you can invest. And of course, with these ways, not only can you invest in Bitcoin, but you could also invest in precious metals, in real estate, in businesses. So you could really, expand your horizon if you want to. So we're going to be discussing that stuff. So hey, if you're here to discuss of what's going on in the market when it comes to your money, my money, and everybody else's money, discuss what's happening in the world of crypto, because hey, we also have a little bit of a scandal and some bankruptcies happening. Yep, even in the world of crypto. That's right. Even when when it hits the biggest market, it's a bad day. So we're going to be discussing that. We're going to be discussing about what's going on with the analysis and where the price is going, where are we now, and what's happening right now on chain, because that's very, very important and very different from everything else. And then, of course, we're going to be discussing about the retirement, yet another way to actually keep and grow your money in a tax-free or tax-deferred way. Let's do this. and good morning. I do want to welcome everybody watching this live on onedealaway.com/live. If you're here, make sure you sign in, say hello. If you don't have an account, sign up for one. It's free and it comes with a course. And it's Crypto 101 course that comes up with all kinds of cool things. Um, everything you would probably want to need and want and desire. So you definitely want to sign up. And of course, it's not a programming course and stuff. I'm, I guess, a toddler programmer, not junior programmer, toddler programmer. This is really from investor perspective. So this is really focusing, like if I'm going to teach something, I'm going to teach what I know. So I'm teaching it from the investor perspective. So what I want to do is I want to take a look today into what's happening, in the market, in the money, and that kind of stuff. Oh, I failed. Sorry, I was trying to refresh over here, trying to talk to you, and I failed miserably. My apologies. I failed to welcome everybody watching this elsewhere, preferably, most likely, actually not preferably, most likely YouTube, because that's where all of these videos land ultimately. So if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome, welcome. Thank you for watching. Do me a huge favor, smash the like button, smash the subscribe and notifications so you get notified when things go live, and which is just about every day. Here and there, occasionally I might have to go away and we skip a day or a weekend or whatever, but I do this stuff pretty regularly. So I do want to welcome everybody who is watching this live or replay or whatever. You can still put in comments. The only difference is, you can't do live Q&A stuff. But that's okay, right? That's okay. Sometimes that's okay. So anyways, let's take a look at what's going on in the market, y'all. So here we go. Here we are. Let me refresh. So 15,523. Let's see, up or down? Ooh, up, slightly up. Not a lot up, but slightly up. So Bitcoin is at 15,593 and 68 cents, up 2% over the past 24 hours and 13.6% over the last 7 days. ETH is up 1.9% over the past 24 hours and 14.8% in the last 7 days, and the price is currently at 453.95. These were much higher. They're consolidating now. That's a very good thing, as we've discussed. And as we scroll down, you will see that there's a lot of green, some red, some green, but there are some that have pumped incredibly well. One of those is Aave. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Ooh, Rune is actually coming in and beating it up now. So Aave has been pumping like crazy, 14.1%. And of course, it was the biggest winner about, 20, 30 minutes ago when I was looking at this. Now it's second, Rune or Rooney, I don't know how you call it, as 14.5% in 24 hours. RSR is up 7.8, and then it goes into the single digits. When it comes on the losing end, there's really not much of anything. Everything is single digit. The biggest one is Theta at negative 4.6%, Myota at 3.9, DCR at 3.5, Nexo at 2.7. So it's like it's nothing, nothing crazy that we've seen, because we've seen dumps of like 16% and 50% and that kind of 90%. Like, all right, that's a dump. So there's really nothing extra happening here. Now Aave, look at this thing. Over the last 7 days, Aave has pumped 86.4%. Insane. Rune is in the second place, holding steady at 56.2. SNX up 51%. YFI 42.7. SOL 33%. CL 32.5. BAN 32.3. As you can see, the DeFi is back on. The altcoins are starting to pump in, and they're starting to come in. And of course, we do have this article. It says surges 76% in 1 week. It's actually 10% more. Add 10% to that. And and this was November 9th. Today is November 9th. So I don't know what time zone they're in. They're probably somewhere in Europe, I would guess. I don't know, maybe Asia. Probably Asia. It has to be. It has to be further than Europe, right? Just because the time doesn't make sense. But this was done in the last, I don't know, not even 24 hours. It has to be. So, and what's going on? Well, it's been pumping. It's been pumping, and some analysts believe that Aave token, or sorry, could continue its bullish trend as the futures market for the cryptocurrency indicates that the token could surge rapidly. One of the analysts pointed out that Aves short liquidations are about to kick in and pump it $55, and this is when it was at $50. Of course, it is actually above $55 as we saw just a moment ago. They're also saying that institutional capital is inside the market. Um, Now, of course, the total value locked in the DeFi industry is $12.43 billion at the press time, according to DeFi Pulse. And if you don't know what DeFi Pulse is, we can actually take a look in just a moment. Hold on. I put my keyboard away thinking I wasn't going to need it, but it turns out I'm going to need it anyways. Jump trading, right? So, an analyst at Masari, which, by the way, I really like that company, recently noted that jump trading at Wall Street Giant has recently been holding more than $75 million in cryptocurrencies. They're trading DeFi like crazy, and they're holding things like Compound, Keep, Network, HXRO Numeraire, Orchid Protocol, MakerDAO, and heavily invested in Serum or Serum. I don't know. I guess it depends where you come from. Analyst Quang Wang recently explained that the bottom of the DeFi market is still yet to come. But even with that, and DeFi pulse. So there we go. And of course, we can just go into it directly. And yeah, so $12.59 billion that is locked in DeFi. And of course, Uniswap is dominating like crazy. Like crazy. So this is the part where you can come in and play around and learn all kinds of cool things of what's pumping, what's dumping, where things are. So if you're interested, DeFi Pulse is actually very very cool place to go and play and learn a bunch of stuff. So that's kind of what's going on. So you have these institutional investors that they might not be talking, publicly about things like Bitcoin, like Michael Saylor is, or what's this the Square guy, Jack Dorsey, right? Or even Raul Paul, or the some of the other sort of analysts and big Wall Street guys, the grayscale people, right? I can't remember. Then you have the Paul Tudor Jones, right? So you have all of these folks that are talking about it, but there's many more people that are quietly trading. And I was gone the part of this weekend. We didn't do a show one of the days. I want to say Friday, maybe Saturday. I don't know. But we didn't do a show, and I was traveling, having to do some work, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff and catching up. And because during the regular time where I'm here, like I'm always working, researching. I mean, I was up to like almost 1 o'clock, y'all, last night, just starting to dive into these things, and it's like my mind is just going. So, anyways, so I was listening to the stuff of a lot of the hedge guys were talking about it, and they were like, "Well, how do you sell this to a company to go in?" And he's like, every board member that I would reach out to, I'm like, well, we're thinking about doing this. They were like, oh yeah, we're already in crypto anyways, right? I'm invested in it. So that's kind of what the story is. So all these hedge guys and stuff individually are in it. They're playing around, they're testing it out, and slowly institutions are going into it. And the cool part about it is that if you buy it intelligently and stuff, you can actually buy it without moving the market much of anything, because you don't go out there and order 100 gazillion dollars worth of Bitcoin in one go. Like, you sit there and you trade little by little by little by little by little, right? But you do it ongoing on an ongoing basis, right? So that's the interesting piece. And then some of them are just going into and putting a bunch of money into these DeFi markets and trading them, as you can see. And that's exactly what they're reporting over here. Now, talking about that, we also have another important news that is happening that I think folks should know about, and that is that we do have a cryptocurrency lending firm from US that actually has filed for bankruptcy this weekend. I actually got notification via email yesterday, so they did notify the users. And the good news is I'm was thinking about doing it, and so that's how they had my email because I was researching and doing stuff. So I signed up, but I never went through it. There was something that just didn't make sense to me. So knock on wood, I listened to my gut feeling, which was a beautiful thing to do. So the US-based cryptocurrency lending firm Cred files for bankruptcy. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on Saturday, and they didn't notify the users until Sunday evening. Because again, I didn't get it until Sunday evening, and maybe they were coming up in tranches and stuff. They did have a lovely letter that basically said we're doing everything that we can that is benefit for everybody. And I'm like, yeah, no, no. See, I know what bankruptcy means. Yeah, yeah, folks are not getting money. That's bottom line. Personal funds stored in the platform are safe, and that's what everybody is wondering. And they potentially could be safe. They just might not necessarily belong to you, and they might be sold as assets. So that's the part that is interesting that I don't know how it was structured, because if you kind of like a bank, right? If and we have FDIC protection and stuff, and in Europe they have a similar thing, in Australia they have similar things. So around the world they have very similar thing to kind of institute this sort of a safety and security in the banks. But if it wasn't, play pretend that if it wasn't for that, that didn't exist, right? So when you deposit money into the bank, you're basically that sort of opening agreement says that you are not an owner of it. You just have a right to it. They now own it, and you're just the beneficiary, right? You're the beneficiary, meaning you can go out there, you can withdraw and stuff. But if they really need it, they can block your access. They can take the money and, of course, invest it in something else, right? Like lend it out there, and they do, right? And that's how we have fractional reserve banking. And if some sort of something kaboom happens, they can bail themselves in by taking all of the deposits and paying themselves, and then issuing you on paper somewhere some sort of stock, something, so that it's not a complete theft, kind of like what they did in Cyprus. So I don't know if Cred has done the same thing, and if they have, then while the funds are safe, you just might not have access to it. So it has nothing to do with safety or not safety, right? Because to me, when I think about are the funds safe, I'm thinking more, is the wallet protected? Is the encryption strong? Where is this located, right? So now the filing comes over just over about a week or so, announcement that came on Twitter on October 28th, that the platform will suspend withdrawals and deposits of funds on the platform for 2 weeks. And they were basically saying that suspension did not take place because the company was under criminal investigation. It just said they wanted to maximize value of the platform for its creditors, and wanted to basically, they were doing some sort of like investigation, and working with they're working with the law enforcement to investigate. Whoa, that is not what I wanted to do. So, anyways, as you can see, people are not happy, clearly, of what the whole thing is. But anyways, I did not mean to press on that, but clearly I did. So, what ends up happening is that, so they went in and they said, assets, liabilities, there, as you can see, they're upside down. It's well over 10x, right? 10 to 50x. Estimated assets are between 50 and 100 million, and liabilities are between 100 and 500 million dollars. And before Cred suspended its deposit withdrawals, crypto wallet and trading service Uphold abruptly ended its partnership with Cred without explanation. So this is right before they actually went in and suspended it. They just suspended stuff, and then of course one of the users said that, having and this is at the time 140,000. So it's way more than that. Bitcoin and other assets locked into their Cred account. Now, what was Cred? What were they doing? Well, Cred was basically sort of like, why did I look into it? Because I had money in one of the wallets, right? coins in the wallets. Hold on. And so I was like, how do I leverage this stuff? How do I grow this a little bit faster, a little bit better? So I started to look into, can I potentially earn money and like lend it out and that kind of stuff. But of course, with that comes risk, and that's basically what is happening over here. So Cred was basically, saying, okay, you can go in and you can earn money. So you go out there, you deposit, you basically give them the money, and then they would basically pay you return on investment, so to speak. And here are all of the different coins, or the trusted partners. And one of the trusted partners was Uphold. You probably know about Uphold wallet. Let me see if I can make this smaller so you can actually see it. It looks better. uh, it's painfully slow. So I don't know. I don't have an Uphold wallet. Never had it. But it's very, very slow to kind of like load here. I mean, look at this stuff. Everything else that we've been doing so far has been working incredibly well. This is, and all I'm doing is just reducing and increasing the size. Um, Very, very, very slow. And so I don't know. So I don't know. Do you like Uphold? Do you have it? I've never used it. I know many people are like talking about it, but if this is how slow the website is, I don't even want to know how slow the blockchain piece is with it. But then again, so they also have like the earn strategy, and that's exactly what I was doing. Of like, oh, maybe I can get like an interest on my holding, and how do I do that? So that's how kind of Cred came through, and I started to read about it, and I was like, yeah, this could be kind of cool, but something told me, don't do it, and now I'm actually glad I didn't. So if you're thinking of how do I sort of increase my money? Oh, hey Charles. Charles decided to come and say hello. Oh, hey buddy. All right, want to do a show? I'm gonna do a show. Yes, we are. All right. Okay. So anyways, so if you want to do something like that, like just be very careful, do the research and due diligence. A lot of the times stuff is not easily as available, so you really have to do a lot of digging when you do these things. Yes, I think it's kind of cool that this is going to happen, but the challenge for me is, again, that third party custodial component that I just distrust and dislike. And we're going to talk about that in a few moments when we start talking about the retirement stuff and how does that work. And so I have mixed feelings about it. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is the whole will Bitcoin hit 100K by December 2021? And the stock to flow Plan B creator says, no doubts. No doubts it is. It is going, and it's going to surpass it. Plan B, the creator of the stock to flow model, has little doubt Bitcoin price is on track to hit $100,000 by December of 2021. The pseudonymous analyst, and he's actually in the world of finance, I believe, from Netherlands or in Netherlands. Um, I think it's Netherlands. But anyways, so he goes with this anonymous name because he is in a traditional finance and that kind of stuff. And so, I'm sure that there's some people that know what he looks like, but when he shows up and when he talks, you can't see his face. So it's not like this, right? When you can like, I know who that is. I'm gonna recognize him on the street. Please don't. This anonymous analyst expects the dominant cryptocurrency to achieve the 100,000 to 288,000 range by December of 2021. Bitcoin would have to increase around 545% from the current price to surpass $100,000. Market capitalization of BTC would near $2 trillion, or roughly the same as Apple. How crazy is that to think about it? You have something as amazing as Bitcoin that is being used around the world, that is being adopted around the world, and it still has to grow 545% to reach the size of one company, right? That's crazy. That's crazy. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is talk about opportunities. So this is what the stock to model kind of looks like. And there's another analysis or a place or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. that I also have found this stuff. So we're going to be taking a look into that stuff and playing around with it. But this is really about, how he went from a penny to 10 cents, from 10 cents to a dollar, from a dollar to $10, from 10 to 100, from 100 to 1,000, right? And you kind of see kind of the progression that goes in. And once we kind of hit the $10, broke it, kind of came back, but it never broke up below the 1,000, right? Then you went and it hit above 100, right? And came kind of slightly down, went back, hit above, slightly above 1,000, came back down. It stayed in the hundreds, right? Then it came and hit over 10,000, right? Actually 20,000, right? It came back down, but it never went back into the hundreds. It stayed into the thousands. And now the model basically says that it's going to hit over $100,000. And the chances are that when it comes back down and come back down, it will, because as you can see, it goes up, comes back down, goes up, comes back down, right? And these up trends are less and less, right? But it's also kind of how it's structured over here logarithmically. And when it comes back down, like these are much, much longer, right? Much, much slower, much, much longer. And that's kind of where we could see this sort of progression happen, right? So from here, we can kind of go in, and so he believes that it's going to be 2021. If and when it hits above 100,000, it's going to basically, if it drops based off of previous behavior, I would argue and say that it stays in the tens of thousands. That doesn't mean 10,000, it means tens of thousands. So again, even at the price where it could, say right now we're at 15,500 something, right? And goes to 100,000 and it drops, down to 25,000. Well, if you bought at 15,000, you're still up 10K per Bitcoin. And that's an amazing return on investment, right? So why 100,000 and why is it 2021? So the stock to flow model attempts to predict the long-term price trend of Bitcoin by evaluating the supply, and of course it takes the fixed supply, right, which is that 21 million, and then takes into account of like the whole block reward halving, meaning that every 4 years roughly, it mines less and less and less, so that the steep curve, hold on, the steep curve, and let's see if my trusty pen will work. Let's see if I can do this, so that it goes up. So from I'll use this chart actually, but it goes from like mining a lot to like slowly and kind of coming down and then sort of flattening out, right? Something like that. Obviously there's much better models and much prettier models, but this is kind of what this looks like. So when it first started right over here, right, this is where it was mining like 50 BTC per block and stuff, and you were like, oh my gosh, that's when I should have gone into the stuff. And then we went down to like 25, and then we went to 12.5, I believe, and then we went to and obviously like this is not to model or to scale or whatever you want to call it, then it's like a 6.75. Next one is going to be like a 3 point something. So as you can see, it goes down and down and down. So of course the price has to go up, because it was ridiculously profitable for these guys. Imagine if you were a miner back in 2011, right? And how many blocks would you need to mine to be fine? Like 5. Would 5 do it? That gives you 250 BTC, 250, and say now at $100,000, right? You do the math, right? Just add a 0, right? And so this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. So anyways, this is the interesting piece to kind of pay attention to. So that's kind of what happens. So the supply of Bitcoin decreases over time, And based on Bitcoin supply curve and the halving cycles, stock to flow puts the expected valuation of BTC at $5.5 trillion dollars, and the model predicts to reach a multi-trillion dollar valuation before 2024. So 3 years left. 3 years left or less, right? And he basically the now it says that he said that he remains very confident in his model and projection it would materialize. 2021 is particularly important for Bitcoin because it follows a highly anticipated block reward halving in May of 2020. And since the halving, I mean, we've gone up ridiculously, right? 78.1% since the halving. And look at this, like it just kind of goes in. It's going to go parabolic from there. So beginning of the year, we were at about $8,700 when I was doing my little show, urging everybody, like, just whatever you do, buy. And so some people did, some people didn't. When we dropped down to 3,000, I said, whatever you do, buy. Some people did, some people didn't. But we'll see. When it gets into the 50,000 and 80,000, 100,000, I think many people will want to buy at that time and place. I have no doubt whatsoever that Bitcoin S2FX, so stock to flow model, is correct, and that Bitcoin will tap 100 to 288,000 before December of 2021. In fact, I have new data that confirms the supply shortage is real. And we have another analyst, Willy Woo, whom you've heard probably here on this channel or elsewhere, but we did mention him multiple times. He says that the total supply of Bitcoin is lower than often thought. Of course, we know that the total supply is 21 million, but it's not that much because a lot of it got lost. And so he says that the total supply of Bitcoin will not be 21 million, it'll be around 17 million as many coins died. This means 0.002 BTC per person on the planet. And if that is the truth, then you better get yourself some Bitcoin right now while you can. I mean, buy a farm, don't buy a farm. I've been doing a lot of thinking and analysis on my own end, and have become increasingly bullish on it. I used to think of like 1 to 10%. Then as I learned more, I'm like 20 to 30%. Maybe I should put 50%. Now I'm thinking like I need to put in 90% plus. So, but I am on the crazy side of things, so don't do what I do, and not a financial advice at all. At all, at all, at all, at all, at all. Period. End of conversation. Nouriel Rubini acknowledges Bitcoin as a partial store of value. Wow. So Professor Nouriel Rubini, dubbed Dr. Doom by many in the crypto community because of his skeptical remarks about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, seemed to have softened his stance on Bitcoin. During a recent interview, Rubini said that Bitcoin can be considered a partial store of value because it cannot easily be debased, as it is the case with other altcoins. It's maybe a partial store of value because, unlike thousands of other what I call, I'm not gonna say the word over here, but poo coins, it can also be so easily debased because there's at least algorithm that decides how much the supply of Bitcoin rise over the time, because for most of these other ones, literally it's done ad hoc and they're being debased faster than what the Fed is doing, and that is not accurate. So the fact that the gentleman doesn't understand it is breaking my heart, but that's just me. So whatever, it is what it is, what it is, what it is. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Not every altcoin is debasing. Many of them are, kind of locked in and they don't do stuff. A lot of it is still algorithmically programmed. My gosh, can't speak today. And so, yes, there's a lot of benefits. There's some that are not so good. But speaking of benefit, the good, the not so good, I do want to take a quick look at the market. As you can see, market is in the green, which lets me know that perhaps we are going to pick up in the green. Remember, we haven't opened. Many of the other places have already opened, and they are loving what is going on in the world and what is happening. Now, what I did want to talk about is this right over here, Glassnode Studio. And so this is where I was telling you I have found the chart. Let me see if I can still make it smaller. I found a chart that kind of follows the stock to flow ratio, right? And this is what we just talked about. So this is the days until halving, right? So this is when it has like just sort of halved, and then what happened, right? So you see blue turns into green, right? And then it kind of starts coming in and it gets into the red. Then you get into the blue and goes up. So halving is the blue, right? Like it just sort of happened and you got to wait for a long, long, long time. Red is we are about to halve anyways. So as you can see, this is kind of what's going on over here. So that it always kind of goes up. So there's a prediction right over here that we're going to go and or surpass, and this is going to happen now between. So this is where we are right now, right? You can see it right over here. Okay, and so we're expected to hit basically well over $20,000 if we follow the model. 100,000, and sometimes in 2021, kind of stay flattish into 23, 24, and then another sort of bull run, well above into the ratio, should go higher. So will it play out? Will it not play out? I honestly, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. Although, why is this not working? But what we do know is of what's happening right now. Okay, let's do this. And the cool part is if you want to go and play around with it, you can just go to Glassnode Studio and play around with it. But it shows sort of the price, and it's not like 100% perfect, right? It should have already happened over here. We should have been at 13. We were at 11. Right over here where we are right now, we should be at 24, but we're actually at 15. So it looks like this model might be a little bit too aggressive, which I kind of have been, thinking about as well, because that is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this because the reason for that is that, in my humble opinion, again, let me see if I can move this slightly. In my humble opinion, let me show you what I'm thinking. Right over here, right? You see how this over here is like super short comparison to this, right? So the cycles are actually expanding. They're getting longer and longer. So this is counting that the cycles would sort of remain the same. You also notice that this is way more parabolic than this, right? So you can see that we go from this to this to this to this. I don't know why it's not doing that. Okay, clearly it does not like me right now. So right, so you have let me see. So you have this, right? So it again does not want me to explain this. Darn it. So it's flattening out. Why are you not liking it? What is your problem? What is your problem? All right. Can we do it now? Now it doesn't want to do it at all. Great. All right. Well, there goes that. Done. Apparently, you can only use the pen once, and then it's done. So, anyways, but you can see kind of what's going on. So I think that it's going to be longer. So while he's saying that, 100,000 by December of 2021, sure, possibly, but we're seeing this sort of go in and expand. So where I kind of see it happening, and I just wish that I could draw and stuff, that it's going to really kind of draw this out, and we're going to see some of the move like over here as opposed to where it's happening right now. So, and it needs to be slightly less steep, and this needs to be slightly longer. But I'm sure that he's going to adjust that over the time as we all progress. So I don't know that it's going to happen that fast. But again, what the hey do I know? I am not this fancy schmancy, analyst or that has to hide or any of that stuff, right? So I just, I mean, I have a hard time, getting enough people to show up when I do a live event, online or in person. So what the hey do I know? I just know that I have been right on so many things, but I know that they have been as well. So the other piece that I wanted to share with you is the Glassnode Studio is the exchange activity that you can come in here and play around with the coins and the on-chain analysis and stuff. So of course you have the on-chain analysis stuff for Bitcoin and be able to look at the active addresses. And this is very important in your analysis of what's happening with Bitcoin because of like our coins going in, our coins going out, and so on. All right, I've been yapping way too much, and I didn't think I was going to have enough, and now we're running out of time. So I did want to talk about the potentially doing the Bitcoin in retirement. And so there are different Bitcoin IRAs and cryptocurrency IRAs that exist out there. You can, of course, search for them. I Trust Capital, thus far, based off of my research, came in as, probably the most affordable of them all. So how does it work? Well, it's a self-custodial service that allows you to invest in whatever. It's also known, sometimes it's known as like a checkbook IRA, where you find a custodian of the account, you pay them X amount of money a year, a quarter, a month, whatever, however they structure it. And then, you can go in and invest in anything. You can do tax deeds, tax liens. You can just buy real estate on its own. You can go and get gold. You can go and trade stuff. And it also allows you to go in and get Bitcoin if you want to. The downside to trying to do this stuff is that it can be very, very expensive. So they all charge different things. The iTrust Capital, in my eyes, one, based off of my research only, so I haven't used any of these guys, based off of my research only, has won because they are doing a very transparent sort of, this is what the costs are, period, end of conversation. And the cool part about it is that, it's sort of a flat fee. So whether you invest, $1,000 just to give it a shot, or you want to invest like $1 million because you believe in it, your fees are remain the same. Whereas everybody else charges way more the more you actually money you put in, as if they have to do more work. Then they also charge for like the transaction fees, like to buy, to store, to sell. So you definitely want to take a look into this stuff because it definitely adds up very, very quickly. And so you want to be very cautious and careful with that stuff. Now, the other bad side, so to speak, is that, like, yes, it's your IRA. Yes, they're kind of you know governed by the government, right? Ruled by the government and that kind of stuff. But the challenge that I have is the fact that, it's still a third party. You want to make sure that their wallets are encrypted, that it's actually assigned to you, that it's not commingled with something else. So those are kind of the things that I would want to do, especially if it's going to be a substantial amount of money, like most people have in their IRAs. But that's kind of where the whole thing is. Perhaps they have multi-sig, that basically doesn't allow you to touch it without them signing it to ensure that it is 401k ready. And it doesn't allow them to touch it without you signing it. So that could be a cool sort of solution. I don't know if they offer it or not. You definitely want to look into it and do your own research. The final piece that I think is very cool about it is because you can do traditional IRA, meaning you take money right now before taxes. They go in to the account and then you buy stuff and it grows tax deferred. And then only when you sell at some point in the future do you have to pay taxes. So that's one option. The other option is that you can actually do Roth IRA as well, where you basically pay taxes now. You buy this with a post-tax dollars, but you don't have to pay taxes. Now, this is the part that the reason that I'm like, I kind of want to see and play around with this. And here is kind of what I'm thinking over here, right? Imagine we buy Bitcoin right now and say that we buy, you have, say, $100,000 in your IRA account, right? And you take, let's say, 50,000, right? I don't know. I'm making stuff up, right? And out of 50,000, you can buy what, like, let's say 3 Bitcoin, right? And now, because I've already done this from the Roth to Roth, right? This is already, taxes already up. And if this thing does indeed go up, what was that, like 545%, right? Increase. Now imagine I don't have to pay taxes on any of those gains. So if the Bitcoin goes, the 3 Bitcoin go to, instead of like 15,000 stuff, all of a sudden I have turned my 300,000 of Bitcoin into what, like 300,000 to, what, 680 whatever thousand, 700, something like that. So that's kind of where the cool part is, that I'm like, it might not be the craziest idea. Now, will I have all of my Bitcoin that way? Probably not. Definitely not. But there's something kind of interesting and exciting about the ability to invest in it, which is why I started to research it, which is why I started to think about it, and that's why I was up. Not the only reason, but partial the reason why I was up really really late trying to figure out things. So talking about really really late, holy cow, we're really really late. We have spent way too much time talking to them, talking today, and discussing stuff. So if you have learned anything whatsoever, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comment section. For everybody watching this live, we're about to go into the Q&A. Everybody else, hey, smash the like, subscribe, bell button, and I will see you tomorrow. Until then, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.